Welcome
Mm.
in.
Hello, hello. Courtney and I were reflecting that her and I haven't been together since July. So we're happy to be here together again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. He was
Yes.
gone. Now I'm gone.
So go ahead. For those of you who know, just get your name in the chat just to get yourself here. If you're brand new, maybe make a quick introduction of yourself and say, I'm here from, I don't know, Sydney, Australia. I'm just making up where people
Hi, Ethan.
come
Hi,
from.
Katie. We've got some Seattleites.
Hey, great.
Oh, New York. Ohio.
So as we're all getting here, so for those of you who are new, this is our monthly leadership focus webinar. We meet once a month for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, just to get us all anchored in something together collectively. So we're in the midst of a series on leading through change and transition. And so I think this is our third or fourth webinar on that particular focus. And so we're excited to work through it today. One announcement before we get started is we just want to remind everybody that in May of 2026, we are doing a full day live event down at the Collective in Seattle. It is going to be a really remarkable day. So the idea is to get together with a large community of leaders to really look at this idea of how do we reset and reconnect and reimagine around what's possible in the world of leadership. So it's a really beautiful way for you to come either solo, bring your team. There's going to be an opportunity for you to hear from a really remarkable panel of people who have really invested in their own development and their organization's development. We're going to do breakouts of different learning topics. We're going to have really structured fishbowl circles that you can hear from other colleagues around how are we really moving and leading through organizations at this time. Our biggest idea is that we just want to build community. And we want to shift this idea that development is an individual experience to that it can be and ideally is a communal experience. And so we are beyond excited for this. So we have our team, we have our coaches. You're going to meet our entire body of wonderful people that we work with. And you'll have a day just set aside for you. So early bird tickets are still on. I encourage you to go out and get your ticket by end of December, I think is when it drops off. And if you want to bring a team, feel free to reach out to Sam if there's a way that we can give you a little extra discount. So feel free if you want to chat with her about that. We've done that. We're doing that. All right, cool. All right, excellent. Okay, next. Um, so as I said, this is why we gather every month, is that the world is complex. There is a lot coming at us. Things are emerging at a pace that is really we've never experienced before, I would say, and especially for leaders, it's as if there is something new to be tending to ongoingly. And the lines between the world and the communities and the people that we're working with are much more blurred than ever before. And so, how do we hold a larger scope as leaders? And we want you just to have something really practical and easy to use as you move forward. So, in the world of complexity, how do we have a simple thing to pay attention to? So that's why we're here. Great. Uh,
Simple, but not
yep.
easy is what I would say about all of our work.
Say it again.
I would say simple, but not easy is what I
Yeah.
would say about all of our work, right?
So true. It's so true. Yep. So one thing to consider is to, please participate fully in the chat. And if you're really uncomfortable being out loud about things, then just have a scratch piece of paper next to you that you can jot down your thoughts on. I really encourage you to bring your team or gather your team in between sessions and watch the recording together and have the conversations. We want these conversations to be integrated in the spaces in between. So look to yourself to see how you can lean into this work outside of the first Friday of every month and see how to keep it alive. Great. Thanks, Alan. Excellent. Okay, Courtney, do you want to, or do
Yeah, well,
you want me to?
except for I wasn't there last week,
Okay,
so I know I'm asking everybody to give me the scoop. I wasn't there for last month.
okay,
So
great.
we know
So
we talked
last
about phases
month,
of resistance. So I'm curious where you have experienced your own resistance to kind of any sort of change over the last month. And those of you who weren't there, like I wasn't, I think we can still acknowledge that perhaps we at some point might have had some resistance to change in the last month.
yeah, great. So for those who won't, as you're populating the chat, we looked at what happens when a change occurs in our organizations and within ourselves. And we talked about the different types of resistance that can show up. You don't need to know what those were in order for you to say like, oh, here's where I've resisted it this month.
Mhm.
Um, And so I'll speak for our so we're working with a AI consultant right now, which I would say there's varying levels of resistance about all of that work. Um, and it's everything from like, I don't like it, but fine, I'll go do it, all the way through like, I will never use ChatGPT for anything, you know. So we're just watching the resistance to change, especially with an entity that is here, and we're just trying to understand it and befriend it, so that we can be smart about it. But that's where I can see in our own firm, we've had some bumps along the way with that. Um, great.
Ethan, new metric. Yeah, people seeing it as more work. I get that. Sam's resisting the time change. Oh, energy to dive into new work. Yeah, kind of getting that, like gathering the energy for a new thing, I think can be Shannon gave the exact same example that I was going to give because I am definitely resisting it for just I don't even know why, so that's something I should be getting into.
Yeah. Well, I
Any
think
other
those are the most interesting, is when you have a visceral like resistance to something and you
yeah,
don't even know why.
I
That's fascinating. Yep.
no, I really have been trying to sit with it. I don't know why, but I am being a spoil sport is what I would say.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
So I'll
We'll
get
just,
myself there, I promise. But it is a really interesting question about like what even is the resistance?
yeah.
Oh,
And
changing
so
platforms. Anytime anybody changes a platform, yeah,
was
yeah, I hear
resisting
you.
AI until I used it.
There you go,
Yeah. And then
Marcus.
you're like, oh, this actually is kind of not too bad. So the one thing to think about and remember about resistance to change is that your work when you're resisting is to keep looking at what are you willing to let go of?
Mhm.
That's it. Like, so what part of how it was are you willing to slowly get rid of? It's not even about embracing the new, but is it a belief, a perspective, where you fixed and attached to how it was? And as a reminder, the change happened. So how it was is no longer so. It is here, it is here. So how do you keep letting go? And I think that's just sort of the thing to pay attention to.
Mhm.
Great.
Oh yeah,
Excellent.
Derek moved into a new office. Yeah,
Oh, I
getting your
know.
space all set.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, well,
Okay.
let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. So we know this is our third in the change series. We explored William Bridges' transit change and transition model in our first session of this series. And then last week, as we talked about last month, the creative tension and faces of resistance. And today, we're going to explore our current context. So what is the water we're swimming in? What is the air that we are breathing? And how does that impact our understanding of what we have control over, influence over, and concern about? So, in order to understand how we're reacting to what's going on in our context, we want to get grounded in what our context is. So, that's the first activity we're going to do. So, we'd love if people in the chat will answer these questions. We're going to walk you through.
Yep. And so today is, just fair warning, today is highly participatory. We want
Yes.
you to be populating. It's a lot of you naming what's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
about these, because we don't know your context. We don't know. And so you need to tell us right now. So
Yeah.
please, please. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, so as I'm going to go through four different questions, I'll give everybody a minute to kind of populate the chat. Again, you're at choice. Write in your little sticky note if you prefer. And as each question comes up, reflecting on what's happening in that area, influencers, barriers, events, your feelings, your experiences, all is welcome at this chat party. And so we're going to go through each of these questions. When we do this in the room, it's a little bit more contemplative, but also it's Shannon and I. So it's a little
We're
more
on a
like
webinar and we're chatty. So
we're chatty. So here we go. First question for you to reflect on. What's the state of where I am personally? Where are you personally?
Mhm. So once again, this is like your personal fishbowl, the
Yeah.
personal water
Yep.
you're swimming in.
Yep.
Just
I
yours.
love it. Idaho. Absolutely. That's
Different
great.
context.
That
Yep.
is context. Oh,
Yep.
at peace.
Mhm.
I
Great.
would say I got to think about this too.
Yeah. So I'll say personally, I'm in a big transition. Everything feels sort of shaken up and disruptive. Um, I'm full time working, full time momming, full time wifing, full time, wanting to be a good community citizen. Um, I feel limited by what I can make happen right now. Fatigue, the dark, the rain. That's all there. Courtney, anything you would add to just personally
Well, all
figure
of
out?
those, I would say, I'm finding myself, my current, personally, I'm finding myself doing a lot of escapism, a lot. Like I'm planning a lot of trips. I'm making a quilt for my nephew. So just, I'm like, oh, just all day. I just want to like sit and quilt and I have, life to attend to. So I'm noticing that my state is such that I find I mentally am escaping.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, oh, the real feel, the waste of time of going back to the office. I think the personal dealing with all of that, the logistics and emotional transition of that for sure.
We've had clients in tears about the return to
Yeah.
work, the
Yeah.
return to office rather, and what that means.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you naming that.
Yeah.
So what
Agreed.
matters is just for you all to be super rooted in this is what's true for me right now personally.
Yeah.
So thanks, Ethan. Mentally
Yeah.
surfing, metaphorically, physically,
Yeah.
living alone.
Olympic.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, the neutral, look at it. Alistair, bringing it back between the neutral zone and new beginnings. Lots of change happening at work. Yeah. Okay. So that's just one layer of our context is how we are individually showing up. And because we're in community together, now you're all part of my context because now I'm attuned to what you're all experiencing. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. So the next question, the next layer of this is, what's the state of my team? And you can define your team in any way that you like. We think about our work teams. So whatever your same kind of reflection, but what's the state of your team?
Mhm. What are they experiencing? What are they immersed in right now? What are they feeling? Oh, two fearfuls.
Two
Goodness.
fearfuls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. Splintered.
Splintered, stretched thin. Amen, Sam. Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah.
We're fine. We're fine. Overwhelmed.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll say our team is very full. We're very stretched. We're also very willing, sometimes to our own detriment.
Yeah.
Pissed off.
Mm.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Okay.
so I appreciate Ethan bringing just anger into the
Yeah.
conversation. This is one of the emotions that so often at work we act like doesn't exist, as if
Mhm.
we don't, like there's no place for it. And everyone, I mean, there are angry people on teams because of things like massive changes in the orgs or benefits being changed or a big push that isn't taking into account their capacity. Some, yeah, permission to be angry.
Mm.
Yes. And I think we could probably do a whole session on anger and rage
Oh,
and the
I'd be
benefits.
great. I'll
Let's
do
do
that. No
this. Let's
problem.
actually let's do that. Really like the power of that emotion and the what leaders can do to
Yeah.
acknowledge it and give space for it, so that we're not afraid of it. I think that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Great.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I think that's interesting. I'm seeing like more disparate in our where we are personally, but then there seems to be some common themes in where our teams are at. So I think that's interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, the third question is, what is the state of your organization? So the whole organization together, what would you say?
So now you're pushing out.
We're getting, as you
Oh,
can see.
yeah.
Let's
So on
see.
our side, I'd say there's some chaos, maybe, if we look larger.
Sure.
Um, Maybe varying levels of connection and awareness.
Mm.
I'd say attention being pulled in
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of those are true.
Busy, full. Um, I also would say deeply committed and caring and dedicated. Um,
All true. Yeah, I guess it's important to remember to hold all of those truths together.
yeah, yeah.
Fused on
Oh.
fire. Oh, Ethan. Lost, divided, and unsure. Yeah.
So I don't know about all of you. I mean, I'm a big feeling person and a big empathetic person. I'm just feeling the weight of what you're all immersed in. So we're only three contexts in, and you can feel what you're holding for yourself personally, what you're holding for your team, and what you're holding in the
Yeah.
organizational context. And you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a walk
So
in the
this next
park
one.
every time you go to work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So then this next one, as you can imagine, as we're going out even further, is what's the state of the world?
Yeah.
Not fair. My printer has a ghost and it just turned on. I'm sorry if it's noisy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The state of the world.
And if that feels like too much of a leap
Yeah,
for you,
yeah, yeah.
you can bring it
Yeah.
in even like your city or your
Yep.
community. Feel free if that just
Yep.
feels like a large jump.
Yep.
People not getting paid is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yep.
seems like a very reasonable statement, Tammy.
Yep. 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 Yep.
There, it really does.
It really does.
Um, yeah, recovering,
Mhm.
scary.
Yeah, the tense.
I mean, I would add, I think if I look at the world and we bring it back to some of the work we've done, it is the wilderness, the transition. There's obviously something that's ending and the new hasn't fully began yet.
hmm
Uh,
hmm hmm
yeah,
hmm
resistance.
hmm
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, little sparks.
I found some this week. Found some hope and some sparks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So when we're looking at all of this, this is clearly a lot that all of us are immersed in all the time. And I was saying I was saying earlier to Shannon this morning that, I was a history teacher. And so I think about how our bodies are only meant to know about as much information as the village next the next village over. And so we're holding all of this all of the time. And what is the toll that it takes on us? And so, how we're approaching change, how we're approaching work, how we're approaching relationships are all influenced by this very, even the wonderful things by a lot that we're holding in our context.
Yes, yep. And we forget. We get up and we head into work and we forget that there's even just these four that we're
Yeah.
swimming in.
Yeah.
And we forget to name it and we forget to acknowledge it and we forget to even update ourselves. Like, what's context now? This
Yeah.
week, this month, this year. It doesn't stay the same. Context is a shifting experience. And so there's a as leaders and as I think just human beings walking through this journey together, how do we represence ourselves to what's so right now?
hmm
Including sometimes I'll forget, like, oh, that was actually last year's context. If I look right now, it's different. Like I have to remember that that's how it was then, not now. And so it's important to sort of, this can be just a really great practice every once in a while to reset yourself.
Yes. And
Great.
I think as we think about when we've been talking about change and all these tools to try and navigate it and try to lead through it, and I think about times in my life that change has felt easy or easier at least. And then sometimes it maybe is feeling kind of increasingly. And maybe it was because stakes were lower or and I was younger and there were fewer obligations and all of that. And so again, I think when we're talking and through change, that the level of control that we have, our responsibility we have, our awareness we have, how much it definitely impacts how we can respond to that change and navigate through it.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
great.
All right, we had a little poll question. So that's our relationship between context and control. Anything to add to that, Shannon?
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
great.
That's great.
All right, little poll for you. Shannon, you launching that?
I'm gonna try.
So when you're faced with a
Um,
situation that's out of your
okay,
control, what is your first instinct?
there we go.
What's your first
And
instinct?
I think you can pick multiples.
Yes, I think you can, because some of us,
We're overachievers.
overachievers, just trying to do.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm impressed with all this stepping back and deciding what's in control.
Gosh, I know.
B and C. Uh-huh.
And D. Okay, Kathy added D. Great. I think we'll give it another few seconds here. Looks like.
Yeah, it's hard to do
Okay.
polls if you're
All right, great. Is everybody in that wants to be in? Oh,
there. One more.
a couple more.
I'm still replying my answer in my mind.
Okay, Mr. Olson. He's my husband. He's my husband. It does not surprise me that he's still thinking about it. And I will give you all the space you need. Great. All right. All right, let's show.
Yeah.
Okay, here we are. Always a balanced group here. I always like it. Okay. Can you all see? Can you see
Yep.
Courtney? Okay, great. Um, so,
Yeah. So yeah, what do we see here? I think this is interesting.
we either want to fix it or we're going to step back and try to fix it. Sort of, I think that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
either an automatic reaction to like, let me get this handled.
Hmm.
Or if I can't see it right away, I'm going to step back and
Hmm.
figure out how to get it handled. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's great.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about, for the second half of this, we're going to talk about now we've taken our context and how do we usually react in these areas. And we're going to talk about the circles of control, influence, and concern. This is Stephen Covey's work. And so um, another chat question for everybody. So Sam, you'll bring up that first circle. So when we discuss our change and transition, we talk about how much often when we say like how do you deal with change or how do you deal with transition, often it really is directly impacted by how much control I have over the situation. A change I initiated and I get to implement and I feel great about that kind of change, right? And so that is because I have a lot of control over it. And then when we start really getting into it, though, even a change I start, do I have control over every single thing of a change? If it includes other people or, I don't know, resources or anything. And so when we get into what we really have control over, I'm curious, what do you think you have control over?
Nothing, Courtney.
Well, and I'm the reverse. I think I
I'd
have
even say,
control
Tammy,
over
sometimes I don't think I have
everything.
control over myself.
Yeah. I think I have control over every single thing. So, all right. So, my mood or my actions, how I respond, my response.
Yeah.
Anything else that you all feel you have control over? My
I feel,
interpretation of things. Yeah, Pete,
oof.
that's interesting too. Hmm. Yeah, I guess when we come down to it, Sam, you can do the next part here, or how I let things affect me. My thoughts, words, actions, reactions. It's really all how I show up. That is all I genuinely have control over. And I don't know how all of you feel about control, but that is a hard one for me to stay present to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in our egos, our brains, it plays a trick on us.
Yeah,
We start throwing more in there, but really we have to remember like this is it.
yeah,
This is it.
yeah,
Ultimately.
yeah.
Yep.
Then the next circle that we come out to is influence. This is what we can directly affect or impact. So things I'm not able to control, but I can somehow impact, I can influence, I can try to convince, persuade, I can use all my other influencing tools, even if I don't have full ownership of it.
That's
So,
right.
what kinds of things in the chat do you think that you might have influence over? Shannon, what do you think you have?
I think I have influence over our culture. I think I have influence over, um, I say sharing perspectives and hoping that I can cause a shift for people,
Mhm,
but it's
mhm,
influence. Like
mhm,
I still
mhm.
can't control what they do with it.
Yep, yep.
Um, I would say I influence um, the work we provide in the world
Mhm.
to our clients. It's such a hard question, actually. Now that I'm thinking about
It is really hard. That's
these
why I
big
know.
things.
That's why I asked you.
Yeah, uh,
Uh,
yeah. No, it's good. It's really good. Yeah, and
No,
here,
I think yeah, absolutely. I would say, and you're some of the folks are getting into the energy. I think communication. I think Kathy, really good point that how communication, how I will communicate with others, and how I expect others to communicate with me, I can influence. Um,
I vote. I
how
vote.
I vote.
I cast a vote. A vote.
That's right.
That's
That's
it.
influence.
Yeah,
Calling my representatives. That's influence. You know, how our team, how I can ask for help. I can, contribute my ideas to our team about what I think we should do. So there's influence in there. I've seen, yeah, the people see the topics we discuss, mindsets and perspectives around me. Yep.
mm,
Oh, how others listen to me. I guess, Marcus, that's a great point. We often forget we can influence how others listen to us. by
Yeah,
how we listen to them and how we talk to them, which I think is a really, I love that.
that's great.
Yeah. Okay. So Sam, here are some other things we think that we can influence.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's great.
So the important thing to really sit with for a second on the influence circle is that our energy spent here yields real results. Because we're going to go into concern here in a second. But when we spend time in influence, this is where we can yield real results. We often underestimate how much we can do in the influence circle
Yeah.
because we're focused a lot on what's next.
Well, and I'd say we live in a culture, the United States culture, that is heavy on control. Like that, it's heavy on that's where you should focus is, like we can control, control, control. But I think there's a pivot to pay attention to, as Courtney said, is that in some ways the higher level of development is where is my influence here? And especially for people that maybe are individual contributors at work, and we are a hierarchical system, and so maybe that you're not, in the hierarchy, you're lower in the organization. It takes work for you to remember that there is a high level of influence, no matter your level in the organization, no matter how many direct reports, no
Mhm.
matter your title. I have worked with clients that quote unquote had no power on paper, but their influence was very, very high
Yeah.
because they were dedicated to having it be that way. So I think this is like as leaders of teams, where can you empower others and their ability to influence? Where can you start looking to yourself about where have you gotten tangled up where, well, I don't have control, so therefore I don't have influence. They're two separate conversations. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just some ways that we talk about, you can look up all the different kinds of influences, but credibility and consistency and collaboration and experience, all of those things lend to how we influence, which are really directly related to the things you can control about who you are.
Yeah.
So,
Relationships,
yeah, yeah,
referent power. There's all sorts of ways
yeah,
that your
yeah,
influence is
yeah.
impacted. Great.
But then we're going to do the outside circle, which I don't know about you, is where I spend a lot of my time or energy, I think. So, what is in our circle of concern? When we talk about circle of concern, this is everything we care about or worry about. So, going back to our current context exercise, there were clearly plenty of things there, but everything I care about or worry about. I mean, I could go for days. Yeah,
Yes.
work-life balance, big one for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I worry about traffic. I worry about parking. Like these are like my old lady things that I'm starting to hear in myself now. Like I'm like, oh, parking.
Sam
Yeah,
says
federal
traffic
level.
too. So Sam too is an old lady. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, Sam too is. Yeah,
Federal level
federal level
policy.
policies.
Yep.
Um, kids, the environment, the future,
Yep.
the whale population I'm sort of obsessed with right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like all of these things that I worry about,
Yep.
big, little, that just all
Mhm.
day, all night. Anybody else? Okay, Sam, start clicking away at the old
So,
circles of concern here. If the public transport is on time, my bus has been late a lot lately.
will there be anyone to fly the airplanes?
Yeah,
Will
yeah,
there? Like,
yeah.
there's a lot.
Those are real. Well, like sports match. I don't know if anybody of here was Seattle. If you were really into the baseball here in the fall, and I thought at one point that I should leave the room because if I left the room, that would like make them win. Like this is the circle of concern where I'm trying to have control, and I have no control over if the Mariners are going to beat the Blue Jays.
So
Right?
I so the circle I'm concerned, Courtney and I were having a great dialogue about this even before the webinar about how expansive our circles of concern are now because of the vast amount of information we have access to.
Mhm.
And whether it's the 24-hour news cycle, social media, the way we are consuming and absorbing information, often for people, there's a lot in this circle right now.
Mhm.
And Courtney, back to what you were saying is we haven't evolved and we're not wired to even tend to all of this concern. This is very new for us to have access to that much we should care deeply about.
Mhm.
So I just want to mark that it's large right now.
Mhm.
And for those of us that maybe are um, bigger feelers, more sensitive, more are just more wired to feel deeply. This is hard, and this is hard. I just want to name that it's a big lift right now. So Courtney, do you want to say a bit about sort of what do we do with all of that that's out there?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been thinking about, I'll take kind of the economy and it is a concern of mine. I'm sorry, I want to make sure I have Alistair's question. Is the point being that there are concern has a ton? Yes. We want to be, I think about this concern circle. I want to be aware of the things in that circle. I want to be a citizen of the world who pays attention to what's happening. I want to be aware. The trick is, do I obsess over it? If I'm ruminating over it, if I feel frozen by my own ability to do anything about it, at that point, I am overestimating my ability to control it, but I am underestimating my ability to influence it.
Yeah, and that's this I think is the golden ticket right here. So you
Yes.
might want to say that
Yes. I'm
again.
going to say it again. So you're overestimating what we can control and we're underestimating what we can influence. And so then we get frozen and we chill in this concern circle, not making a lot happen. So I'm going to speak for myself, for example. So the economy and prices. I am thinking about it like everyone else, and I'm worried about it, and I'm reading about it and obsessing about it. So that me reading an article and getting more mad about it, none of that is helping. However, can I influence the people who represent me by calling them and writing postcards and doing things like that? Yes. Can I influence companies by where I spend my money and where I do not spend my money? Yes, I can do that. Can I control my thoughts, words, and actions about how much I'm reading, about how many people I'm following on social media, about how many comments I leave that are not helpful to anybody?
Yeah.
So I think to be really clear about what do I want to be aware of and not just sit in that circle of concern, but really, again, all of our work is about how are we getting ourselves back to choice? How do I get myself to be in choice about how I might influence that area
Yeah.
and what I cannot control and name that to be true?
So I think like a really beautiful exercise is just simply that question. So if you imagine you've populated your circle of concern to have the deep truth telling with yourself is what of all of this am I going to influence and how? And what of it am I just going to keep there because it matters to me to at least be aware of it? And I think even that simple process of beginning to sort that for yourself, there's a return to power and a return to choice
Mm-hmm.
in that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will make the bold assertion that the way that we are being pumped with information lately isn't necessarily wired to have us do that. It's wired to have us swirl in the circle of concern versus
Mm-hmm.
here's something to be concerned about. What's the thing you're going to do about it? And if
Mm-hmm.
not, say so. That's that. Um, and sometimes I think, given the context we're in, given the current era we're in, it's okay to say, I'm going to shrink my circle of concern for a while. I mean, now I have the capacity to expand it, or I'm going to take on two things to influence, not 87. Like this is like in the world of no judgment. The what we're looking for is not that you address all of it. What we're looking for is as leaders, uh, can you be bold and say, here's what I am going to take action on and influence? That's it. In your organizations, you all listed a bunch of big things. The question is, okay, which of that do you want to try to influence?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the choice. That's the
Mm-hmm.
choice.
And I think coming back to our own kind of control is when we think that we should be able to control or fix all the concern circles, we can either try to, kill ourselves trying to do it, or we have to go the complete reverse and give up completely. And I think so, how do we, and particularly when you think about at work, all the things we can't fix at work, but what can I influence? What can I take part of? How I want to show up? All those things I can do. Um, Again, to be at choice, right? I really think that is when we're in the circle of concern part and kind of ruminating there, we're not at choice because we can't see our way out.
And Alistair, I think your statement is so great. And I'll speak for myself. My cycles of rumination is when I'm confronted by my own lack of control in
Yeah.
that situation. So as Courtney said, I've forgotten the middle ring. So I'll ruminate and ruminate and ruminate because I'm so present to that I can't control that. But I want to know and I want to stay present to it. And it takes rigor for the brain to say, okay, what's the one thing? What's the one thing today that I'm going to do to sort of influence this thing that has my attention that I'm swirling on? But it is a habit and it's hard. It's hard. That's great. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right.
All right, we have a poll. So let's just get honest about all this. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much of your daily stress comes from things you can't control? So thinking about even that like circle of concern, maybe Sam, go back to the concern circle just for ideas for people. Um, how many of your kind of your daily stress is the stuff in the concern circle? Shannon and I were saying, I think I'm probably, it's a very day-to-day switch, I would say, actually. This conversation is helping me. I don't actually feel super, but I would say in the last couple of years, I've been living at about a 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so when you think about these changes at work, I'm living at a 4 if I'm working about all sorts of things, worried about all sorts of things the company has done or my boss's boss's boss has done that I don't feel like I have any sort of control over.
Well, I can really hear the polarity, Courtney,
Yeah.
that I'm either going to be concerned or I'm going to have control.
Yes.
So which one is it instead of like
Yes.
this spectrum of how we can engage with things that matter deeply to us? How much, where is it that we can engage? I'll share the results. Um, if some of you mentioned just being, stressed and in turmoil and disruption at work, like so there's the ping ponging that can happen as leaders where, well, I can't control that, but I am concerned about it. And then we forget as a collective or as a team or an organization, how can we discuss together what's our influence on this? How do we cause the culture
Mm-hmm.
shift? How do we change the things that we do have control over, our behaviors, our attitudes, our perspectives, the way we engage at work, the way that we show up, the way we stay in relationship and community at work? All of that is in that world of influence. All right, beautiful. So we have some 3s and 4s. Fair, fair. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Um, oh, that's great, Ethan. So I am a firm believer in what you just shared, which is the brain can't. We're not computers, so the brain can't hold it all. Get it out of your head, get present to it, and then choose. I think that's great. That's really, really great. All right, great.
So what do you think could shift if you focused more on what you can influence and control rather than in that concern area, right? So I think Shannon, that's perfect. The polarity between we're either wanting to control it or
Or I'm
feel
just
like
gonna
we
like
can't do
let hand
anything.
wring and like be
Yeah.
worried.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's such a vast difference of
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So be more productive. I know that any time I've actually taken an action on something that I've been ruminating on, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's so great. Like there's a relief, there's an energy release, there's a boost in my own sort of morale.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a little high from like
yeah,
actually taking an action.
totally,
Even if,
totally.
yeah, being more open to change and happier about it. All right, if you just named this is what I can influence, so why am I fighting the fight I can't even fight? Yeah, I think that's interesting.
And I'll name one more thing about the shift or the action. Um, our culture, capitalism, our egos have convinced us that we need to take heroic actions.
Yeah,
And so it's another area where we can get stuck,
yeah,
which is like, okay, I want to impact the culture of my work. So I'm going to launch a 10-year culture initiative, like this big thing, instead of like, no, today I'm actually just going to show up and connect with my team in a really intentional way. And so this idea is like don't underestimate these like tiny shifts of how you engage and what you focus on each day. It's really remarkable. And often that is the catalyst for a larger shift because there's a different level of permission you're allowing people when they just see that like the small movements matter and they're fully acceptable. We don't need big heroic swings when we're trying to impact something we're concerned about.
yeah. I think we're all like born and bred on the kind of hero's journey. And how do you just say no? And I think the sweet poetic irony is that when we take an action in a little way to do a little bit of influence, it actually is empowering and makes me feel more in control.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
my whole goal of getting control really can only happen when I can take control over things about which I really have some influence. So thanks for
great.
sharing all those. That sounds pretty.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, so just what we said here about what we can do, focusing on what we can influence does reduce stress. There's so much research out there about um, the antidote to anxiety and depression is to take an action. And so how do we do that? Over time, your circle of influence actually grows because as you influence, people see you influencing, and then you get more influence, or your voice is heard more often, or your presence is seen more often. And it's contagious, is what I would say about the influence work. And all of this is about what we're talking about. Those of you who've done the triangle with us or anything else of our work, is that when we are working on what we can do and influencing, we are staying solution oriented rather than problem focused.
Mhm.
And so that is leadership, is that you don't just come with the problem. Here's all the problems, here's all the problems. You come with possibilities and solutions and ideas. And that's really what bringing influence in does.
Right.
Okay. So, if there is one particular area of concern you're thinking about in this moment that you'd like
Hmm.
to let go of trying to control and maybe figure out if you might just influence, not just, if you'd influence instead and you want to share it, that'd be great.
I
Hmm.
like it. You have one, Courtney?
I'm
Something
trying to
you're,
think of one.
yeah.
Well, I
Uh,
think all of the American government, I need to stop pretending I'm going to control.
are you gonna
So,
are you gonna give up your idea that you can control that?
I am going to try and give up that I can control the American government. I will
Oh,
say I call my representatives every Friday, and it's the most empowered I feel all week. And so maybe I just need to start doing it every day.
every day.
Me again.
Thank you, Ethan, your daughter's future. So moving it out of
Yeah,
concern into how can you influence it? And that's
nice.
beautiful. I have a similar one with my kids right now. That's I can't control it, but I have a lot of influence and a lot of impact. That's great. I have a really simple one that's really like just about me, which is I've had concern for like 5 years that I'm not tapping into my own creativity anymore. Like I stopped
Mm,
painting, I stopped sewing, I stopped doing everything. And I recently, just this last week, just like forced myself to sit down and like just do a little thing, like a small little piece of art. And it was remarkable for me. So 5 years of having a swirling, ruminating concern that I've lost that part of myself. And then within like 30 minutes, I was relieved of it. And so it's an interesting thing that it's very personal, but where else in life does it feel like it's so huge because
yeah,
the rumination is taken over versus like just go do the thing.
yeah.
Go put your paintbrush on a piece of paper and see what
For
happens.
10 minutes. Yeah,
10
yeah, yeah, yeah.
minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah.
Kelly, the need to answer a problem in a millisecond. Some
Good.
Enneagram energy, my friend. That's right. Yeah. So be thinking about this. Let's not try to control every single thing in our concern circle today. What's maybe one thing we want to work on having some influence over?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, quick. I know we're at the very end today, so Sam's gonna send you a quick some handouts for
Yep.
today. Just notice where your attention is at. Keep sorting into what circles your attention is in. Um, the last thing, we don't have time, but we really so next month we are doing just open Q&A for December session, meaning like if there's questions, concerns, if there's things that you want to know how to influence, whatever's up for you right now. You can either start dropping those into the chat if you have time now, like just populating questions you would love for us to tackle next month, or please just email them to Sam. We want to know what you're thinking about so that Courtney and I can be a bit more prepared for that session. And of course, we will take questions in the moment. We made a joke that if you have a question in the moment, you have to come on camera to ask it, like a little bit more on the line. We won't make you do that, but what we want is to end the year with talking about things that you specifically have interest in, and so please send those to Sam's way, and then that'll be our final session for the year, and then we'll launch 2026, which is really exciting. So
Being smarter, not harder from Tammy.
there we go,
Okay.
Tammy. Great. Thank you all. You can drop your checkout word into the chat. Thanks for being generous and listening and staying in with us. It was a big conversation today. So it's not light work looking at context and control and concern and influence. So thanks for staying in. Have a really, really great month, everybody.